We actually have got fun stuff to talk about. So, N'Zoth's future.
I love time travel.
See, the thing is, I mean, being a bit of a Trekkie, I do like time being utilized. It can go good, it can go bad. In this case, though, it is fun because it plays around with the inherent strengths and weaknesses of Void. So imagine you can see like almost every possible future. So now it's not about
all of them are bad.
You being able to see things. It's about you trying to determine which one of these darn things is going to become true, right? Which one is going to come to pass. And then that means you have to look around for shreds of evidence. You know, did I just see something that that applies in a timeline that I have seen?
Yeah.
Right? So all of this kind of fun stuff. Well, this is where it goes into N'Zoth's future. Now, we did touch on this in our 10.1 lore video, the idea that N'Zoth seeing us confirmed to him certain things.
Yeah.
The way that he kind of greets us
and
in a very knowing way, even though canonically we kill him like maybe millions or hundreds of thousands.
At least like 20, 30, 40,000 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 100,000. But I think the fun thing is, and this is where you pace your things and writing small number of words, good, very, very, very smart, hard, difficult. It's the I ... know you is him going, I know you. And you can just see there's because assuming an old god thinks very fast, that's a very small period of time, but he probably did a lot of thinking there. He went, I know you. I know what you're going to do. Especially remember that these old gods, or old gods people, old gods anyway, can like probe our minds and see what we know and see what we think and stuff like that. Read our minds, stuff like that. So it goes, oh, you. So you've just given me everything I need to know.
Yeah. If he can see his death and see his killer,
he knows. Well, depending on what he can glean from us, he could know down to which individual timeline is real.
Yeah, especially even with things like the gift of N'Zoth.
Yeah.
Any little, you know.
God, I'm so annoyed that's like definitely like fully dropped. That would have been so cool to tie into this.
So like basically with this, as Adam G3691 points out on Reddit, that we inadvertently confirmed to N'Zoth how he's going to be imprisoned, how he's going to get released, how he's going to die. And that means that he's able to look into that. You then take a look, I would say, at some of the behind-the-scenes stories that were going on in BFA.
Lots of them, yeah.
The Blade of the Black Empire, N'Zoth wanted that. He didn't actually need Xal'atath in the Blade, so he got to deal with Xal'atath to basically get the player to hand the Blade over.
We don't know why.
Yeah, all of that stuff, and like Sylvanas gets the Blade, and blah, 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 blah. And Rathian ends up getting it. A lot of people, though, have theorized that that blade would be capable of holding the essence of an old god. This is something that is hinted at in the artifact knowledge text that unlocks during Legion as you progress as a Shadow Priest. So, essentially, he could be slurped into the dagger, and we, by the way, do not know where the dagger is.
Nope,
all we know
Rathian
is that
stabbed him. That's it.
Yeah, Rathian stabs his carapace, and that's it. We never see it again, which we should really ask.
Yeah,
someone in game should really ask where that friggin' thing went.
There's another part where we'll maybe talk about this if we've got time. There's another part of like if someone just asked a question, this would be over. This wouldn't be a problem anymore. But yeah, it's interesting because I think that there's a couple different things to talk about here, right? In terms of how he responded to it, it kind of it implies that everything that he did, because we've been talking about this, it's his plan. Everything was planned because they can see the future. They can have like gambits. They can have multiple plans in place. They can, okay, well, I want these timelines, the top 10 timelines N'Zoth wants. That's a video. And then, one, okay, well, failed here, we'll do two. Oh, but if two fails, I'll chain down to three. But if I fail here, four, etc., etc. They can set up these massive gambits over hundreds of millions of years, or however long the Void Lords have been alive and stuff. So it is effectively, he now knows what to do to get to that point. and he knows which is real. He knows what's going to happen, so he knows everything that's going to happen. If he can see beyond that, he knows everything that's going to happen after that point. Assuming it's not one of those weird things where like he can't see after his own death.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't make sense for this, so let's ignore that possibility. So he knows how to get to the timeline he basically wants. So I think everything he's done, and this is where we sort of thought of this initially, going, everything he's done, but in the context of BFA, his death, in the context of the Heart of Azeroth and him letting us kill him and free Xal'atath and stuff. But what I never thought about is Deathwing. Because the Black Empire predates everything. Which means, what if us going back on the Dragon Isles set him up to do literally everything? Because a lot of things are connected in very interesting ways. Because now we're the Dragon Time. The Infinite's obviously time.
Yeah.
Void, all the timelines, they want to get the right one. The Infinite wanted the Hour of Twilight. That was the big Void victory overall. So it's kind of interesting to think that we could maybe be responsible for Deathwing's corruption. Because we, after all of the chain of events caused by Deathwing's corruption, and obviously everything else before that, we end up going back in time and proving to him that. And then you could see how they'd maybe want to tie that in. Oh, Deathwing's corruption. Why did they show us Deathwing's corruption in that legacy? Because they're all going to tie some of this in together. Why would they show us in Xal'atath? Why would they do this now? There's a lot of things that are getting very, very, very interesting to tie together in ways that it's genuinely hard to actually talk about, even though I have a load of notes here. Because the fact that we killed Murozond, which means now all the Infinite and Bronze stuff that we know about, that wouldn't have happened if N'Zoth didn't corrupt Deathwing.
Yeah.
So why did he do that? He clearly wanted all this to happen because he knows it's going to happen, so he lets it. Otherwise, he would change things. This is all assuming we're in a stable time loop. This is assuming the old classical idea of you can't change the future happens, and whatever we did, we already did. The Bill and Ted rules of you already changed the past.
Yeah.
And that's funny that I get to say Bill and Ted rules. Time travel is very interesting. So it's like, where does N'Zoth's knowledge actually end? What's his motive? Because you think about Ulduar and Algalon, that would have been bad for the old gods.
Very.
And he probably knew that because I'm assuming him and Yogg were having wee chats or something, or even, the idea of thinking how Titan's bad is going to be the point of this expansion.
Well, there's an insurance
or
policy,
at least, yeah,
essentially. So it's like, maybe we're mistaken and Yogg wins. Fantastic. But if he loses, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Therefore, pass test.
Yeah. So since by going there, we proved to him that we are going to be the people who basically do all of his dirty work for him for the entire of our lives. Because this expansion is probably going to end up Titan's kind of bad. Mostly. Tyr will be fine, I'm sure. Which means we're going to end up destroying the Titans and then giving the old gods what they want. Or at least making them free of their worst enemy. All because we went back in time to say hello to N'Zoth. Like dumbasses.
Well, we were sucked back in time.
Yeah. Which is very, very cool, I think. Very cool.
Yeah, I actually think this is a neat way of engaging with these characters.
Yeah,
it's actually happening in the game too, in a way that I think people would be more able to just notice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it, Frankenberry. He wants the Titan defenses deactivated. And guess what we've been doing for a long ass time?
Yeah.
We've been freeing old gods and killing them even though they don't really die. And sorting out everything for him across. And it's like, the way this works with N'Zoth is, because I could see people drawing this as very, this is very Jiller. Jiller was mastermind everything. But the way this is being executed is like, oh no, this fits the character. This fits the tone. This fits the rules of the universe. This isn't actually retconning anything. It's kind of going, oh, it's just a stable time loop. Everything was perfectly set up for its own motive anyway. So now there's just an additional layer of motivation being added on top. As opposed to it feeling like a really weird, shitty retcon, I think.
As for the what is to come that J-Lore warned us about, that's likely the same thing that Morazon talked about in the End Time Dungeon.
Likely the Devourers.
That he alluded to. Oh no, the Devourers are a feature of the Shadowlands. But basically, Morazon sees something that convinces him that the old god situation is better than what will otherwise happen.
That's where I think they could tie that in with timeline stuff.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to go into my alternate possibility.
Yes, this is insane.
Yeah. So there are two versions, right? And this is just basic, like long-held narrative, like standards for time travel. I'm literally using TV tropes terminology. There's you already changed the past, which is you already changed the past. You've already done this. This is just like this was always going to be in the same way that certain other games do, and a lot of like TVs gravitate towards, because you can go, oh, time loop and snip, done, sort of. But what they've done in World of Warcraft before with Warlords, you might see where this is going based on the cosmic forces here. That's a branching timeline. Mm-hmm. That created a new timeline, and on that other timeline, there's currently a very nice lady and a very nice version of an angry orc doing unspeakable horrible things across the world. I forgot to include the Illyria quote here. The Illyria's dream about the light bound corrupting the entire universe. I forgot about that. But imagine this creates another branching timeline where N'Zoth now knows what to do to survive. And he does so. And in this other timeline, from that point, imagine like a line, obviously, because timelines.
So BFA and Shadowlands never happened. Great.
Yeah, so no, nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. Maybe the Black Empire won because he knows what to do now. He knows how this is going to go. Or even if it does go, he knows not to get the blade so he doesn't die at the end of BFA and then wins. But there's this new timeline of our timeline is this. We go back here. We meet N'Zoth. It's better on this side. We're here. We go back here. Still N'Zoth. New timeline's created where he knows stuff and solves everything and rules the world in the same way that Yrel and Zera in the Ultimate Timeline are currently rampaging across everything, doing completely normal, nice, reasonable things. And the fact that they're called the Lightbound is not the most insane name of the version of, what's it? Nominative determinism, where your name determines what you do. Lightbound, not Lightforged. Lightbound, bound, etc. So now I have this great idea in my head. Where there's a 3-way timeline showdown. And you might be able to tell from my notes where I literally just typed, yo, this might be cracked, where the idea came to me. And there's a couple things to support as well, including the use of an astronomical term, which is fun. But you've got, I'll go vertical this time. You've got us in the middle. We're nicely in the middle. This is the real timeline, or whatever the real timeline as far as we're concerned, not the possible future you of the Primalist tomorrow way over here. We have a confirmed light timeline where Yrel and the Lightbound are chilling. And then the other side is now a void timeline that we've just created. So there's now these like 3 timelines running in parallel. One where the Black Empire strong, one where the Lightbound strong, and us in the middle. Ooh. So imagine this like 3-track. Now imagine multi-track drifting. Imagine these 3 converging and that being an expansion.
Bean chilling.
Yeah.
That would be good. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's basically my idea. Is
that's actually
what
fun.
If there are 3 timelines, 1 light, 1 void, 1 us, bang. And I'll let you run through some of the notes I have on why this might happen.
Okay. N'Zoth, using knowledge of how time will play out, can shunt the timeline and survive BFA. Ny'alotha becomes a uncontested reality. Yep. The inevitable fate from Star Augur's future comes to pass, and there is a cosmic void army rampaging, waiting to return to the true timeline. There's a cosmic light army doing the exact same that we know about via Yrel and co, and we are kind of like the real timeline, so we sort of know that they're going to come back to us. In BFA, the Voidborn Ascendant in the questline A Mote of Cosmic Truth says in Shath-Yar, there is a great and terrible truth at the beginning of all things. I am its herald, listen to my sermon, and know your infinite inconsequence. Now the malformed
Suzuki, I think?
Yep.
That's Suzuki.
Beckons. Now, it is a straight line of 3 celestial bodies, usually the sun, the moon, and Earth during an eclipse. It's also a lot of things. Okay, yep, Carl Jung's here. Used it to describe a union of opposites.
Yep.
Solovov used it to mean close union. and there's a female-male pairing of gods in Gnostic systems.
Yep, that's what it's. It's a word with lots of meanings.
It's theoretical and seemingly subtle, but there is a huge amount of possibly ancient religious inspiration that is evident in Shadowlands' deepest lore. And if we were to use the astronomical thing, you can think of Anjay, Musha, and the Earth Mother, light, void, and us.
Yep. So that is full on just one way to look at things, one read of the situation. But you can see how that would be really, really cool. There's this thing happening. There's a convergence of 3 celestial bodies. Obviously, the sun is light. The Sunwalkers, obviously. Elun's light. However, the Night Warrior shit happened. Obviously, Tron didn't use any. It was clearly like a corrupt form of light or whatever else. But what's a Shadow Priest? What's the other side of the light? Void. What's a dark Elun going to do? What is Elun like if she's light? If she's the mother of the Naru has been alleged or talked about sometimes. What happens to the Naru when they're out of juice? They turn to the void. What happens when Elun sees something she really doesn't like? What is the truth behind her dark, horrible, terrible power? Perhaps maybe, what does an eclipse look like? Oh, the light's blocked out. Wow, amazing. Look at that symbolism. So you've got this version of us, the light, and the void in a line. And that sounds very cool, because then you can have an expansion where you can be a void paladin, or a more light paladin, or a void warrior, or a light warrior, and have all these customizations. And maybe you have 2 renown tracks, 1 light and 1 void.
And somehow Morazon thinks that the void end is better than the light end.
Theoretically, they could work it that way.
Like that.
They could work it that way. He could think it's the best one. So yeah, there's a lot of yeah. It's very much like Baby's first writing job. It's very kind of here. Look, we've used ancient stuff, but I think it's very cool. I feel like that's the kind of thing. Imagine it's Uriel shows up at the door, or even better. Actually, okay, I don't know. Okay, which would be cooler? We're being chilling after the end of Dragonflight, and probably after 11.0, we're like, okay, yep, having some ice cream, some Laogama, everything's going really, really well. Sorry, I can't take it seriously. Yeah, everything's going extremely well. And then there's a knock on the metaphorical door of World of Warcraft, and it's N'Zoth. He's like, hello. Thanks for busting me out of that time I died, by the way. You thought you got me, but you shouldn't have traveled in time. Don't mess with time if you're not read science fiction. And then comes and kills us, or tries to. And then, obviously, she's got hooves, so she doesn't need to ride on a horse. Uriel just comes to the portal.
Uriel comes through at a strong gallop.
Yeah, she just gallops through. And then there's Garrosh behind her, and everyone's going, this feels a bit weird, but they're light, they're good. Turalian says they're fine. There's Zira. Turalian starts crying and goes, oh my god, I thought Illidan killed you. I'm a different timeline one, don't think about it. And then we're in the middle of this colossal bash. Uriel's helping us, but then obviously helps us too much, and then we have to fight both of them back. Or the other way around, where Uriel comes first, and then the Zoth goes up and goes, hello, we're here to save you from the light. Which way would you rather have it? I think I'd rather have...
I want to be healed on by light first.
No, I would rather... I would rather have it be the simple way, where the void shows up as the enemy, and then the light go, we're here to help you. And then halfway through we go, well, I'm not going to protest too much, but why is your hoof on my neck? This wasn't part of the agreement. I can't breathe. Please stop killing us all. Thank you.
Yes, it's all good until someone tries to kill Illyria. And then that's what makes Turalian realize, oh dear. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. The more conventionally fitting story is certainly that. I think Void coming to save us, there's a way you could say that is pushing the boat out more, but I also think it would be a lot harder for people to accept.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it makes the most sense that Void comes for us first. I guess like they'd truly need to nail the scale of that though.
They would, yeah. It'll not be 11.0. Because as we've discussed, the world revamp will be 11.
Oh, it's hard confirmed.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's hard.
100%. Put money on it right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the idea, though, of like light reality and void reality and us stuck in the middle, trying to, I guess, almost defend the first one's plan.
Yeah, which obviously the first one's plan. Ultimately, they're not going to talk about that for many expansions again.
No, they're never going to. Yes.
But the first one's plan being we're in the middle and we're the cool ones because we're a bit of everybody, and that's why we're the strongest.
Yeah, so basically the first one's plan is the most convoluted way to form a really good raid group, which is to create all of reality and filter them down to just a few heroes.
Basically,
as you do.
That's a good point. Once maybe Naifu comes in to save us instead of N'Zoth, that'll be easier to sell. If Durell's starting to be a bit mental or shows up in mental, and then Zalatath goes, "Hello, I am an expert in dealing with these problems," etc. Then Loon has to fit in somewhere.
Or even Zalatath could fit in. You know, the Void Invade and Zalatath and Locust Walker.
Yeah, show up and go, "Hey, it's a crack."
Yes, we are the friendly Void people, and we will help you.
Yeah.
And then I guess you get to bring in Shadreen. It's another plot element that they've literally been playing with in this patch with the shadow thingy coin that you find in your adventure journal.
Shadow scroll coin, yep.
Yeah. So there really is quite a lot going on, and all of this could be really good.
Yeah.
Because this can all be made really cool. And one of the largest problems with Shadowlands is that they made a lot of things that were very lame.
It's really...
Sylvanas End, lame.
It's hard
Sylvanas boss fight, lame. Jailer and cinematic, extremely lame.
It's really difficult to explain how much Shadowlands would have worked if it wasn't lame.
Yeah, the problem is it was lame as fuck.
A lot of the ideas were kind of scuffed, but the execution was more scuffed a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, like I think that because Shadowlands actually managed to touch on a few big ideas, because there were bits of the lore. If you actually, now the problem is you did have to put the effort in, but if you did, Shadowlands' lore at points could be rewarding. It's just that the whole execution was so bad that any good things that they could have had, they ended up not. It just didn't work out. So, interesting. Overall, I can't wait to see what happens. I think this is a fun, evolving mystery.